Hey everybody, AJ the One here. How are y'all doing? And I'm doing fine myself. So they'll be doing part 11. So what if Deku was a swordsman? Now, last part I left off, I didn't really like it all too much. I stuttered literally all the time. And the story, and I made too many retcons. So again, I'm gonna be retconning. So last time I left off, I said when the Shogun in black armor, when he had eaten the dragon's blade, that he had passed out and seemingly died. I don't know why I said that shit. No, that didn't make any sense. So, to retcon that, when the Shogun in black armor had eaten the blade, or eaten Izuku's dragon blade, when he had eaten the dragon's blade, his body would have just been surrounded by a darkish, blackish, reddish energy, as the sword that he held in his hand would be, as the katana, or no, I'm gonna say the odachi, like an 8-foot katana. An 8-foot katana, basically a shack blade in his hand, would begin to turn black and red, or become a black blade with markings inside of it, a very long curved blade. As I would say that the Shogun himself is about like 10 feet tall. As when this would happen, Yuki and the Shogun would have left, leaving literally everybody to their own devices on what to do in the situation. They would take Izuku to the hospital, they would have all been sent to the hospital as well. They just got fucking mollywopped. As when they all would wake up, they will all be confused on what's going on. That guy ate the sword and now he's stronger? They don't really know, since he had left and not really demonstrated anything. After some time, when they would have all woken up, they would have asked Izuku on what happened and how did that guy manage to eat a blade. When this would happen, Izuku would have looked up to... Izuku's dad would be there as well, asking the same question, of course. As when this would happen, Izuku would have just simply said to everyone that that the blade that he obtained was something called a dragon blade. A dragon blade is a sword that is constructed merely out of scales and bones of a dragon. When that blade was made, it was made specially to be near indestructible. But someone that had dragon's blood, or dragon's blood is basically blood that causes you to be somewhat immortal. It brings you back from death. Basically the blood from Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. But Izuku doesn't say that. He just says that it's just blood that makes you immortal. But a person that obtains the dragon blood, if they ever manage to consume or insert their body with a dragon sword, like impaling themselves and surviving the impalement, if they survive it, then they'll get new power because that dragon blade energy is now inside of them. They now have consumed it. Any person that holds dragon blade energy gradually gets stronger day by day. Gradually gets stronger physically, mentally, psychically. They just become ridiculously powerful, day by day by day. As when they all say this, everybody who had heard this would now be in fear on how the fact that now they just now facing some guy who apparently can end up being limitless. As during this, they would all end up going back to UA. Izuku, of course, would be chillaxing and sitting in his dorm. Would be sitting in his dorm as he would be thinking on what in the world to do. And now at this point they're just fighting a losing battle. As I would say it would be snowing. And one night Izuku would just be out walking as he would quickly jump on top of a roof. Or not jump on top of a roof. He would decide to go inside of an old abandoned building, as he would be on top of it, as he would just be staring off for a couple of minutes. Until suddenly Ezekiel would have heard that like the noise of stabbing behind him. As Izuku would turn around to see that Yuki was right there with her spear stabbed into the ground. As Izuku would sort of have shock on his face when that Yuki had gotten up here so fast, or not so fast, but also without him hearing it, as Izuku would turn around and quickly get in a defensive stance. As when Yuki had stabbed her staff into the ground, she would have let it go and would have began walking forward. When this would happen, Yuki and Izuku will begin to conversate. Yuki would simply just stare at Izuku and would have asked him, did he truly let her father die? Did he actually mean for her father to be killed, or was it just accidental? As Izuku would look confused, and as he would just raise his eyebrows, he would ask her, "And what in the world is she talking about?" As Yuki would have slightly have raised her voice, as she would be yelling towards Izuku that she knows was exactly what Izuku was talking about. That day, when the Shogun had attacked, he had a chance to save her father, to block the blow, but Izuku had stood there and didn't do anything. Why? She wants to know, was it for a reason, or did he do it on purpose? As Izuku would pause for a couple of moments, as he would look away from Yuki, as he would tell Yuki the truth, that he was scared, he hesitated, and it caused her father to die, and he's sorry for it. Yuki, hearing this, would feel rage bubbling to the surface inside of her, but yet she didn't want to attack, or she didn't want to attack Izuku, and she didn't know why. Oh my god. And she didn't know why. Just the feeling of wanting to strike Izuku or the feeling to attack him had just left her. But she knew that she was too far deep in to just simply turn around and forgive Izuku. So Yuki would look at Izuku, as she would say that he wants her to meet him in one of the bases for the Hanzo mercenary group. The base is 5 miles east from here, and during there he should see a tall building that's based off of a Japanese castle. It was originally one of the tallest buildings in the area, but they had renovated it due to the liking of the Shogun, which is he's called by people. As Yuki would say that they had renovated the building to how they like, or to how the Shogun how the Shogun likes it. Go there and they'll have their last battle there. As Izuku would look towards Yuki, as he would shake, as with sadness in his eyes, he would just simply shake his head. When this would happen, Izuku would go back to UA and would relay the information that he had gotten. When he would, everybody would tell Izuku not to go there, and to just as they should all go there together. Izuku would say simply that even if they all did go together, it wouldn't make a difference. He's gonna go there and he's gonna fight Yuki. Usually he would fight Yuki without the intention of killing, but I don't think he can do. But Izuku would say that he doesn't think that he can do that. He doesn't think that he can fight Yuki without attempting to kill, or without killing her. She's too far gone, and this is simply it. This is just how it is. As Kendo would walk up to Izuku, as she would yell in Izuku's face, yelling at Izuku that he promised her that he would never kill again. And then look at them now, breaking the promise again and again and again. There has to be some form of resolving a situation without killing them. When Kendo would say this, the room would go silent, as in the room would be, of course, all of Class 1A, Shinya, just a bunch of heroes in Class 1A. But to this point, Endeavor would have raised his voice, saying that, well, there truly is no other way. This girl is not only a terrorist, but from how it seems, very powerful and strong. The best course of action is taking her out. As Midnight, hearing this, would have looked over to Endeavor as she would say, almost in shock that Endeavor had said that she's just a girl. It doesn't make any form of sense just to kill her. Until Aizawa would pop in and basically saying that that even though he doesn't like it, he agrees with Endeavor. The girl's not only a terrorist, but B, is also very powerful. There's nothing else that they can do to try and take her out of it. From how it sounded, Izuku tried many times to try and just convince her to back down, but it never worked. So, best course of action is to just eliminate her. As Midnight, hearing Aizawa say this, she would almost be slumped on, not even knowing what to do. So she would just simply sigh, not saying anything else. And after this point, all of 1A, hearing that all the heroes had agreed with it, they're all thinking to themselves that it's a justifiable choice. But even still, they all still think that it's still wrong to just kill her. As all of Izuku's friends would just be trying to convince him to not kill Yuki, they'll all be saying it to him. As while this is happening, Izuku would just be sitting there, paused on how all of his friends don't even know this girl, who had just tried to kill them constantly. For about a couple, or tried to kill them twice now. Beat the absolute snot out of him, all just to kill Izuku. And then after that, they still want to save her. They still want to bring her to the light. Izuku, hearing this, as he would decide that he wouldn't kill Yuki. If anything, he was just gonna send her to prison, or try one last time to try and bring her back to his side. And if he couldn't defeat her, then he was gonna die. As Katsuki would slam his hand on the table, as he would yell at Izuku, what the hell do you mean you? You mean if we can't bring her back, then if we can't bring her back. As Izuku would look up confused, as all of Class 1A would hear this, as they would all have determination in the eyes. As they will all announce that they're going. The heroes would of course say that it's too dangerous and they shouldn't, but they all wouldn't care. With or without their permission, they were going out and they were going to fight, and they were going to fight they were going to fight Yuki. Damn, I don't know why I paused for so long there. Kind of forgot her name. After this point, all the heroes would have simply have given up, as now all of Class 1A and All Might, Endeavor, Shota Aizawa, did I already say Shinya? All Might, Endeavor, Edshot, aka Shinya, Shota Aizawa, I already said all of Class 1A, Death Arms, Kamui Woods, Mount Lady. I don't think Mount Lady would be going. Definitely Hawks. And then finally I don't think the Wow Wow Pussycats have been introduced yet. So all three of the Wow Wow Pussycats, or yeah, all three. Pixie Bob. No, I said all three. All four. Damn. We have Mandalay, Pixie Bob, Tiger, and shit, I forgot the green-haired one. The green-haired one was just to sense people. Pixie Bob was creating Earth or Earth manipulation. Tiger was just really strong, and Mandalay had telepathy. Yeah, that's all of them. So all these people will be preparing for the next day to go to this Hanzo mercenary hideout. Basically, they would all drive up as this very tall building would be seen. This very tall building would be seen as all the heroes and Class 1A would proceed to just basically bum rush this building. It would be nothing but a bunch of Hanzo mercenary members inside, which the heroes in Class 1A would blow through easily. As finally when they would reach the top, Izuku would see Yuki. Izuku and all of Class 1A alongside the heroes would see Yuki, as she would just be simply sitting there with their spear sitting next to her. When this would happen, she would look up at Izuku. She would look up at Izuku and the rest of the people that were standing there. As soon as this would happen, as soon as this would happen, Yuki would fully stand up with her spear in hand. She would spin it in a circle and throw a wind slash, or almost like a wind push, at everyone. Once what happened, Izuku would jump into the air, basically last second, confusing everybody, as they would all get pushed out of the way, as the doors would end up shutting behind them. The doors would have ended up shutting behind them and locking. As everybody would be confused, as Kenda would use her giant fist alongside One For All and begin punching at the door, yelling for Izuku's name. As All Might would press on to attempt to punch in the door until suddenly the floor under them would sort of shift. The floor under them would have shifted as they would all fell down to one floor. Then the floor below them would have shifted, or the floor below them again would have shifted again and again and again until they were at the bottom floor. And then after that, seemingly all the stairs have been disappeared. They are all confused, as there would be like a button on. There would have been a remote with a button that would completely shift out the entire building. As Izuku would raise his eyebrow, as she would ask on how in the world did she even do all that? As Yuki would have looked up at Izuku, as she would have said that she had already predicted that this would have happened. That Izuku and his loyal friends would have all rushed her at once, and then because of that, she knows that Izuku well enough to know that he wouldn't want all of her friends to fight her. So Izuku had already come up with 5 different ways to ditch them all just to fight her on her alone. So don't worry. She already did all the important stuff for him. But the last important thing that he needs to do is just die. Izuku saying this. Oh no, not Izuku. Yuki saying this. Izuku wouldn't say a word. As he would unsheath his blade as they would stand in front of each other. When this would happen, Izuku and Yuki would rush forward together as Izuku as Yuki would rush forward and thrust forward with her spear, as Izuku would push her spear out of the way, as he would slash forward towards her head, as she would duck out of the way. She would use the back end of the spear to hit Izuku on the side, as Izuku would quickly turn around and try and swing at Yuki, but she would again use the back side of the spear to deflect it, or to basically block Izuku's blade. Yuki, now fighting with all of her strength and the intent to kill, she would lift her spear overhead and slam it down near where Izuku is, as Izuku would dodge out of the way. Yuki would have lifted up her hand and would have done a singular hand seal, as oh my god, why am I stuttering? As wind would have begun surrounding her blade, as she would thrust it forward, almost like a wind drill. As Izuku would have simply blocked this attack with his blade. At this point, Yuki would have struck at Izuku again, as Izuku would have deflected. Izuku would have deflected the spear. Would have deflected the spear and would have struck at Yuki again and again and again, not wanting to kill her, but still realizing that he can't do this without applying pressure. He doesn't want to see what he has to hurt her enough so she could just slow down. As when this would happen, the fight would continue, but it would be a lot more even than Yuki would have originally thought herself. While Yuki was fighting Izuku, she would slowly begin to realize that all the times that they had fought, Izuku was always holding back for some reason. Does he still truly care? And even then now, he still is slightly holding back. So during the time of fighting, they would of course clash blades. Traded blows, kicks, all the sorts. And in the end of it all, Yuki would have came out triumphant, because she's fighting to kill. As I would say, Izuku would have gotten like some new random sword. As I would say, Yuki would have thrust her spear again, or no. Yuki would have thrusted her spear again into Izuku's blade, as they would have broken, stabbing into Izuku's shoulder, as Izuku would have gotten sent into the ground. Now, if he still had his dragon's blade, it wouldn't have broken and the fight would have continued, and I would say Izuku would have actually probably won. But because of the blade breaking and he had a disadvantage, she's now pinned and about to die, or seemingly. As Yuki would be standing over Izuku with her blue and white eyes staring into him and her white hair falling down over her face, she would rip her spear out of Izuku, as she would lift it up overhead, or she would lift it up ready to stab into him again, ready to end him completely. But before she could, she would look into Izuku's eyes. She would stare at Izuku, just contemplating everything that she had planned to do. She had planned to strike down and kill Izuku, to officially just take him out, but yet she's hesitating. She thought that she had fully prepared herself for this moment, but yet she hadn't. As once again she would go limp and bring down her spear, or she would go limp and stab her spear into the ground, realizing that she couldn't kill Izuku. When this would happen, Yuki and Izuku would be staring at each other almost in an awkward silence, until suddenly the clanging of metal would have been heard, as Yuki would look confused and looked up, almost like in confusion, ready to turn around, but a sword would have went through her chest. As when this happened, the shogun would have been behind her. Tisk tisk tisk. Now, Yuki, I truly thought that you had enough to be my loyal servant, or well, I guess my loyal pawn, better to say. The only reason I've truly kept you around without killing you is just so I can have a free pawn, no, not a pawn, more of a knight or a brook, but surely not a bishop. The the bishop would be what would have been a very close friend of you, would be a very close friend of mine's. Isn't that right, old man? As soon as this would happen, there would basically be like how the shogun had appeared. It would have basically been like teleportation, right? So when this would happen, Yuki and Izuku would have turned around to see that Yuki's father, very badly beaten up, bloodied, while two other Hanzo mercenaries would be right next to him with the guns in hand. But either way, alas, all of your usefulness has faded away, just like him over there, and just like you too, boy. As the shogun would say, as he will point to Izuku. Bring him over here, said the shogun would say, as they would walk over, as they would throw Yuki's father onto the ground. As Yuki would look on in shock on how her father is still alive, right in front of her. As she would turn around with the shogun with complete confusion on her face, as he would simply say, during that night when I had slashed him, he managed to survive. So we picked up his body and took him off. After that point, I just used him for constant information about the Dragon's Blade that he wouldn't give up for a while. Until finally you ended up joining the Hanzo. Until you finally ended up joining the Hanzo mercenary group like an idiot. After that point, we basically had you hostage on your own accord. After that point, your father started spilling everything but the Dragon's Blade on the power that it brings in the dragon's blood itself. And now thanks all to you. Thanks all to you, Yuki. I've gotten immensely more powerful. And now it'll be your own downfall. The shogun would say yes, as he would turn around, as he would tell the two other mercenaries to set the room on fire. Just set the room on fire. Make it poetic, just like how they were all meant to die. The shogun would say as he would do an evil cackle as he would teleport away. After that point, the two Hanzo mercenaries would have both ended up setting the entire room on fire, as they both would have ended up pressing devices on their arm, which would have both teleported them away themselves. Actually, no. I would say that like the shogun would have left behind a portal, which the two Hanzo mercenaries would have walked through. As they're all sitting there in fire, as they're all sort of sitting there on top of each other on fire, Yuki would be sitting there, as Izuku would have been passed out from the blood loss. Yuki's father would have been knocked out from getting his ass beat so much for so long. For so long. He would have just been, as soon as he hit the ground, he would have saw Yuki, as he would have just passed out. And after that point, it's only just Yuki alive. So Yuki's still bleeding out profusely. She would slowly begin to try to lift herself up, as she would grab Izuku and her father, as she would grab her spear and begin stabbing at the door. Nothing. As soon as what happened, suddenly a gust of wind would have broken down the door, sending Yuki and Izuku and Yuki's father flying back. This punch would have been from Kendo, as Kendo would have saw Yuki and Izuku, and as far as she knows, some random old man in the room, as she would have ran in there, seeing on how these were laying around, as Yuki would slowly get up and push and begin to lift Izuku up, as she would sort of lift her towards Kendo, as she would look up at Kendo lightly in her voice, saying to save him first until more people would So more heroes and Class 1A students will walk into the room. What the fuck? Walk into the room as they would begin picking everyone up and rush out of the building quickly. When they did, they would have taken everybody to the infirmary. Yuki's father would have been introduced. Yuki would have apologized to them all for, being how the way she was. And then profusely she would apologize to Izuku. Profusely, again and again and again. She had dedicated her whole life to trying to fight to kill Izuku for what he seemingly had did, but only just because she was a child. And then on top of that, just to find out that everything that she had did just to cause her father getting tortured, to cause one of the men that she had hated for seemingly killing her father to get stronger. She just sees herself as a total idiot, which Kendo would have agreed with. Obviously, having some personally attacking her, personally attacking her. As during this point, Izuku would have forgiven her, and so would the rest of Class 1A. And after some point, Yuki's father would have also scolded her profusely for how she acted over the years. And then on top of that, now the Shogun has the Dragon's Blade. We're in a real this is a real shit show, isn't it? Well, kid, I don't know what else to tell you. You lost the Dragon's Blade. The Dragon's Blade has been eaten by the only man left that possesses dragon blood. There's not that can stop him or even equal up to something as strong as a Dragon's Blade. So there's not really much else that we can do. The only thing that we can do in this situation is just do research. All the research that I had were left in my studies inside of the temple. It's underground though. So some of the content should still be there and scougeable. Saying this, everybody or Nazi would have sent out some workers of UA or some policemen to go out and try and salvage anything left of Yuki's father's studies. And during this time, everybody would have sort of been in not a peacetime, but just training and practicing, while Izuku had been slowly getting closer and talking to Yuki a lot more often. And on top of that, he would have also began to blend back into 1A. As his relationship with them all is pretty much about the same as when he left. And him and Kendo would have gotten closer again as well. But not dating again. And him and Yuki would have also gotten, like I said already, very close as well. And then at this point, it would just be a lot of just butting heads at this point. It would be Yuki and Kendo constantly butting heads since they don't really get along, since they both kind of fight over Izuku often. And then on top of that, it would be Shinya and Yuki's father constantly butting heads. As sometimes they would tell Izuku what to do, as Shinya would be like, "Whoa, that's my son. Your son, please, I'll practically raise the boy. Yeah, you may have, but not for all his life like I have. What the hell does that matter? I still raise him nonetheless." It would just be random stuff like that. As honestly, I don't really know when they were done scavenging through the work of Yuki's father, in the studies, they would find Yuki's father would do constant studying to eventually find out that there actually are weapons or legendary weapons that aren't as strong as the Dragon's Blade, but if all combined, they could all hold up. So not only the dragon, there's two blades called the dragon claws. I mean, not dragons, the tiger claws. These are two simple katanas that were forged through spirits of two sort of yin and yang example tigers. They were just brothers. I'm not gonna go into a whole mythology with it, since it isn't real or any form of mythology. Just me making shit up. After that point, it would be a kitsune. It would be a sort of spear based off of a kitsune, which would have 9 points. Not on the no, not 9 points. Fuck no, that doesn't make sense. But like a spear that would hold the spirit of a kitsune, so it would be very powerful. And then on top of that, a literal what is it called? The thing that Cabal uses to fight in Mortal Kombat, yeah, whatever that thing is called, it would be one that's based off of what is it called? A orc or an ogre. Their job is to go out and find all of them. As I would say, I will go over this in the next parts, as I'm extremely tired. And I'm not even gonna upload this shit. Like, this shit is